Hi, everybody. Good to see some familiar faces here. For those of you who don't know Acronis as well, let me just talk a little bit about Acronis. Yeah, clicker. Okay. So we're dual headquartered in Singapore as well as Switzerland. We started in Singapore, and then we found the climate in Switzerland was great for the QBR, so we opened another headquarters there. Doing pretty well. We grew 30% plus this year. Interestingly, our cloud business grew 200%, and that's going really strong. We will possibly accelerate to over 40% growth next year, and you'll see why this is going to happen to us. We're across 32 locations, but Acronis is sold across 150 countries. 50,000 partners like you globally, 500,000 businesses that use Acronis. Most interestingly, 100% of the Fortune 1000 companies use Acronis today. All of them can't be wrong, right? So we must be doing something well. All right. Let's move ahead. Oh, I forgot. Goldman Sachs just put in close to 150 million into Acronis. Our valuation's well over $1 billion now. We're still young, we're still growing, but industry sees us as something to reckon with. This is very new. All right. So we know the world is digital. All of us use digital devices, right? Anybody here doesn't use a digital device? I don't think so. All of us use multiple devices. You use a phone, you use a laptop, wearables, yeah. And this is getting increasingly so. All of us depend on digital devices. All of us work with data. The data needs to be protected. The data needs to be stored. This is reality, right? There's so much of it out there. So with this digital world that we're all trapped in, what are the challenges that really we see? And here's how Acronis looks at it. And let me define this word challenges. It's not just a challenge, it's also an opportunity. Let's take a look at what I'm talking about. The world is digital and it is complex. Today it's estimated there are 100 billion devices out there which are digital. 100 billion? Of these, just 1 or 2 billion are what we call core devices. Large data centers, clouds, etc. 98 billion devices are up for grabs for all of us. Get out there, data protect, store, manage, right? That is the size of the opportunity we are talking about. That is why we grow so fast. Because we do this. Now we know there are so many devices out there, the world is digital, there's so much data, but there's a parallel industry. We all aware of that? The security threat trends, ever growing. So we have all kinds of threats happening, and this is getting industrialized. They're becoming businesses. Ransomware, for example, is going to grow to a $3-4 billion industry in the next year or two. They're actually industrializing crime, right? There's a whole lot of black hats out there who are doing a lot to steal your customers' data, to misalign it, to do all kinds of things with it. So you have to look at that. And all this leads to what? The size of data today estimated is about 40 zettabytes. Just 40 zettabytes, right? Globally. Small number. But in the next 6 years, this is going to go close to 200 zettabytes. Estimated. Again, I come to opportunity size, what we have in front of us. So, what you need? Cyber protection. So this is how Acronis sees it. And these are the 5 pillars that Acronis works with for all our products to ensure that we protect your customers' data adequately. So what are these 5 pillars? First, safety. What do people do when you have data? You want to protect it? Yes? Absolutely. So you back it up. You use the best that you can to back it up. You store it on-premise, you store it on the cloud, you make multiple copies, right? Safety is primary. Fair enough. So you've done all this. You've protected your data, you've stored it here, there, you've done everything you can. What after that? Accessibility. You've got your data stored away safely, but how accessible is your data? How easy is it for you to get your data back, to restore it? There's no use putting something in a cupboard, locking it away, and not being able to take it out easily, fast. So accessibility is the next key pillar when you're talking about data protection. So you got your data safe, it's accessible. Who else is accessing your data? What about privacy, right? So is it so easy to access that anybody's got a key to the lock? So privacy, data privacy, is the next pillar. It should be safe, it should be accessible, but to you, not to everybody else. And hence, privacy is something that you need to consider when you're looking at data protection for your customers. So your data is safe, it's easily accessible, not very easily accessible to everybody else. What next? So you've stored your data and you have to restore it, right? At times, you need to get it back. How sure are you that your data is authentic? How sure are you that the data you pull back, the data you restore, is the same data you stored? Anybody have an answer here? There is an industry where people go in, they tamper with your data, sometimes for fun, sometimes for profit. This is happening in the world, right? So what can you do to make sure that the data you have uploaded, your customers, have stored and restored, is the same thing that's coming back? 1 0 less or more in a contract can be disastrous, right? A word here and there in a contract, in a legal document, in a document that needs to be stored for compliance purposes, regulatory purposes, gets you in trouble with people, it's wrong. So you need to do a lot to make sure that the data you get back is authentic. And finally, security. We all know what security means. There's so many things that we use for security, and you need to have your data secure. So this is the 5 pillars around which everything Acronis puts out are measured. Okay, so we've taken a look at the opportunity, the size of the opportunity. We've seen what are the key factors, the key pillars that we need to look at. So when you partner with Acronis, what is the ammunition that you have to go out there and win a part of that 98 billion device business? So quick look at this. I won't spend too much time on this. So we work with system integrators who put out solutioning for their customers, resellers, system integrators. So Acronis has a bunch of on-premise products, licensing, which you use to back up for people, your customers, who want to back up on-premise, which is almost always done. We also work with cloud service providers for customers who want to go on the cloud, who want to back up on the cloud, who want to have multiple copies on-prem as well as cloud. We have a brilliant consumer product. Prosumer, really. These are professionals, individuals who need data protection for whatever business they're engaged in, including individuals for their own stuff. And we work very closely with OEMs. So something for everybody. On-premise data protection, on cloud, for prosumers, for everything. So We have an answer to almost every business need, small or large. And everything around the SAPAS principle, taking that into account. Okay, Acronis also has our own cloud, right? And we have partners such as you who sign up with us. We make the model easy. There's no cost involved. You just sign up, we take you through training, we get you off the ground, and we enable you to move quickly. You can also differentiate your own services because Acronis encourages you to white label your service. So you can say, my company cloud services, powered by Acronis somewhere else, right? So if you want to do a white label service, that happens. So what does the cloud entail? You have backup services, you have DR services, there's file sync and share, there's Notary, which I'll talk about a little later, and we have integrations with a lot of tools, a lot of orchestration engines, API integrations already built in, so it can happen seamlessly if you choose to use that. Protection for 20 plus platforms provided. So all Microsoft stack, G Suite, Amazon, SAP HANA, Oracle, the whole, all the virtual platforms covered. So pretty wide coverage in terms of whatever your customer is using or needs. Like I mentioned, we have our own cloud, so about 17 data centers. And let me tell you something about Acronis. We are storage agnostic. We do not push you or the customer to come and store in our cloud. We are integrated with Azure, with Google, with AWS. There's cloud-to-cloud integration happening. So if your customer is comfortable with storing on Azure, no problem, right? You use the Acronis solution for backup. You store wherever you want. You can store on-premise. You can store on the Acronis cloud. You can store on public cloud. Whatever you or the customer is comfortable with. And we help you do that. This is interesting. Okay, can anybody help me define a disaster? Come on, guys. Anyone? How do you define a disaster? Guys, anybody? Hey, no sleeping. Come on, somebody. Okay. I'll tell you how some people define a disaster. Okay? They define a disaster as something that happens to the other guy. Okay? Well, jokes apart. Only 6% of disasters are actually hand of God. This is statistic. Okay. So what really happens? Hardware failures account for about 34-35%. Power outages account for similar number, right? Software updates. 20% of disasters happen because software updates are not done well. There's also accidental data deletion. I love this. Look at it. Hand of God, 6%. Accidental data deletion, man-made, 6%. So technically, a disaster is not an earthquake. 94% of the time, it's man-made. Somebody did wrong. Right? Another interesting fact. Almost half the companies experienced a disaster or an outage last year or this year. This statistic is not going to move too much. Half the companies globally experienced an outage every year. Now, we spoke about opportunity size. We spoke about how to address the opportunity. Who needs this? Almost everybody, right? If you need to back up your data, you need to, well, protect it, you need to store it, and if you do not budget for an outage or a disaster, technically you can go out of business. There are companies which have folded up because the disaster that hit them is so large that they never recovered. Again, that's statistic. Who needs it? I think everybody, right? Unless, well, some people have different opinions, but if you have mission critical applications, data, you are in a regulatory or a compliance related industry, almost everybody needs disaster recovery. And this market is growing really, really fast. 6.5% growth over the next 5 years. That's 650% in the next 5 years. Get on this bandwagon now, before everybody else gets on, right? Talk to your customers about it, because this is deep opportunity within deep opportunity, right? And you need to evangelize this. All right, so I've spoken a little about the organization, we've spoken about cloud, we've done things. So what's the big deal about Acronis? Every Acronis product comes with certain innovations. So there's something unique about us. Why are we growing so fast? Why are we taking on the big boys and killing them? Because there are some Acronis innovations which are completely unique. Nobody else has these features. I'm going to talk about just two. Ransomware. Anybody heard about ransomware attacks? Yes? Anybody has customers who are hit by ransomware? Yes? I don't need to look at you. I know yes. Acronis has ransomware protection built in to every Acronis product. Whether it's a consumer product, whether it's an enterprise product, cloud, on-prem, anything. This is a free feature which comes with every Acronis product. There is no charge associated with this. And what does this ransomware do? It detects. So the minute there's a ransomware attack, it will detect it and send an alert, right? Back to someone who may be at 2 a.m. in the morning is sleeping. A lot of people do this. Beyond that, what Acronis does, it protects, it defends against the attack, and in case there is any data that got compromised, it restores data. It's a cache restore, microseconds. You almost never lose data. Okay? This feature is unique. We just quoted for a very large government tender in a South Asian country. We got them to put this spec in, and it became a tender for one. Because nobody else has ransomware protection in industry, the way it is done. It's demonstrable. There's a nice little video you can just download and show to all your customers. You can demo it, you can POC it, right? Unique feature, nobody else has it. This gives you an edge in the market. Just go use this, pivot this, right? And any customer that needs data protection is going to say, hey, this comes along with it. Great. 200,000 ransomware attacks thwarted using Acronis software. That's the data we have. We have a rolling counter back in HQ which keeps monitoring this. 200,000 customers did not pay a ransom because they are using Acronis. Your customers can get there too. Needless to say, we use AI very heavily when we're using ransomware protection. There's another feature, this lovely little feature. Remember we spoke about authenticity of data. You backed up your data, you restored it. Are you very sure the data is the same that you uploaded? Financial contract, 10 missing, added, whatever, right? This is a feature that you can turn on. Again, it comes along with Acronis. So it's like a notary you know what a notary is. I mean, everybody signed a contract, right? You go to this notary and he puts a stamp on a piece of paper, and then you show that it's admissible in a court of law, right? It makes the document authentic. Acronis uses blockchain technology. You understand blockchain, and that's what makes it so robust, to notarize any document that you store. You can turn this feature on for the documents you want to. There's no need to do it for everything, right? But the critical documents, documents that you want to, in industries where compliance, regulatory issues are extremely tight, right? You switched it on for the documents that are required, and it will put a seal, a notary seal on that document electronically. Which means if the document gets tampered with, either externally or from within the organization, which also happens, right, you will immediately know. That's what blockchain essentially does, right? Another great feature, not available anywhere else. Acronis has a lot of USPs. I'd encourage you to reach out to some of us, take these discussions in depth, right? So to conclude, we're doing well. Products are easy to work with. We're competitive. So I encourage you, talk to us, engage with us, partner with us, come partake of the feast. Thank you.